Donald John Trump was born into a world of ambition and aspiration on June 14, 1946, in the Jamaica Hospital in Queens, New York City. He was the fourth of 5 children born to Fred Trump, a relentless and successful real estate developer of German-American heritage, and Mary Ann MacLeod, a Scottish immigrant who had arrived in America seeking a better life. The Trump household in Jamaica Estates was a place where discipline and a competitive spirit were instilled from an early age. Fred Trump, the patriarch, was a dominant figure who built a substantial portfolio of middle-class housing in Queens and Brooklyn, and he expected his sons to follow in his footsteps and exhibit a similar drive for success. This environment shaped Donald's worldview, teaching him the importance of winning and projecting an image of strength. The family dynamics were complex, with each sibling navigating the high expectations of their father. Donald's siblings were Mary Ann, who would become a federal appellate judge, Fred Jr., the eldest son who struggled under the pressure to join the family business and later died from complications of alcoholism, Elizabeth, who became a banking executive, and Robert, the youngest, who would also work within the Trump organization. Donald, known for his boisterous and assertive personality even as a child, seemed to absorb his father's lessons most directly. He attended the Q Forest School in Queens, but his rebellious nature led his parents to send him to the New York Military Academy at the age of 13, hoping the structured environment would channel his energy productively. At the military academy, Trump thrived, rising to the rank of captain and excelling in athletics. The experience honed his sense of discipline, though it did little to temper his inherent assertiveness. Following his graduation, he enrolled at Fordham University in the Bronx in 1964. However, after 2 years, he sought a more prestigious path, transferring to the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, an institution he would frequently cite as evidence of his intellectual and business acumen. He graduated in 1968 with a Bachelor of Science in Economics, armed with the credentials he believed necessary to conquer the far more glamorous and high-stakes real estate market of Manhattan, a world his father had largely avoided. As the nation was embroiled in the Vietnam War, Trump's path was diverted from military service. Between 1964 and 1968, he received 4 student deferments while in college. Upon graduating, when he became eligible for the draft, he received a medical deferment for bone spurs in his heels, a diagnosis that has been a subject of scrutiny and debate over the years. This deferment allowed him to avoid being drafted and instead focus his full attention on joining his father's company, Elizabeth Trump and Son. He was poised to take the foundational empire his father had built and catapult it onto the world stage, transforming the family name from a local real estate power into a global brand synonymous with luxury and excess. Upon entering the family business in 1971, Donald Trump quickly demonstrated a vision that was grander and more audacious than his father's. He was not content with building residential complexes in the outer boroughs. His sights were set firmly on the glittering skyline of Manhattan. He renamed the company the Trump Organization, signaling a new era of leadership and ambition. His first major project was the transformation of the bankrupt Commodore Hotel near Grand Central Terminal. Securing a complex deal involving a 40-year tax abatement from the city, he partnered with the Hyatt Corporation to gut and rebuild the property, reopening it in 1980 as the Grand Hyatt Hotel. This project was a resounding success, announcing his arrival as a major player in New York real estate. His next venture would become his signature achievement and the physical embodiment of his brand, Trump Tower. Completed in 1983, the 58-story mixed-use skyscraper on Fifth Avenue with its gleaming bronze glass facade and opulent marble atrium became an instant landmark and a symbol of 1980s luxury. It attracted high-end retailers, wealthy residents, and served as the headquarters for the Trump Organization itself. This success fueled a period of rapid expansion. Trump ventured into the casino industry in Atlantic City, opening Trump Plaza, Trump's Castle, and the colossal Trump Taj Mahal. He also acquired the iconic Plaza Hotel in Manhattan and expanded his portfolio to include airlines, golf courses, and various branded merchandise, cementing his reputation as a master dealmaker. However, this aggressive expansion was fraught with financial risk and controversy. The immense debt required to finance his Atlantic City ventures proved unsustainable, leading to a series of corporate bankruptcies in the early 1990s. While he skillfully used bankruptcy laws to restructure debt and protect his personal wealth, These financial failures tarnished his image as an infallible businessman. His career was also shadowed by serious legal challenges. In 1973, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a civil rights lawsuit against the Trump Organization, accusing it of violating the Fair Housing Act by discriminating against black applicants for apartments. The company settled the case without admitting guilt, but agreed to implement measures to prevent discrimination. Further controversies arose from his business practices, including accusations of using undocumented Polish workers for the demolition of the Bonwit Teller building to make way for Trump Tower, and the later scandal surrounding the for-profit Trump University. The venture, which operated from 2005 to 2010, promised to teach students Trump's real estate secrets, but resulted in multiple lawsuits from former students who alleged it was a fraudulent enterprise. Trump eventually settled the lawsuits for $25 million in 2016. Despite these setbacks and scandals, Trump demonstrated a remarkable ability to weather storms, leveraging his public persona to maintain his brand's allure and continually stage comebacks, proving his resilience time and again. Long before his political ascendance, Donald Trump mastered the art of self-promotion, understanding that in the modern age, a powerful personal brand could be more valuable than any physical asset. A pivotal moment in this transformation came in 1987 with the publication of his book, The Art of the Deal. Co-authored with journalist Tony Schwartz, the book was part memoir and part business advice manual, presenting Trump's career as a series of brilliant negotiations and strategic triumphs. It became a massive bestseller, spending nearly a year on the New York Times bestseller list and cementing his public image as the ultimate dealmaker. The book's narrative, emphasizing confidence, bravado, and a relentless pursuit of victory, became the blueprint for the Trump persona. This literary success was followed by over a dozen other books, including Surviving at the Top and The Art of the Comeback, which further cultivated his image as a resilient tycoon who could overcome any obstacle. Trump became a fixture in popular culture, making cameo appearances in films and television shows, and frequently appearing on talk shows and in tabloid headlines. He understood the power of media and courted it relentlessly, using his flamboyant lifestyle and outspoken opinions to keep himself in the public eye. He ensured that the Trump name was synonymous not just with buildings but with a specific vision of wealth, power, and unapologetic success that captivated a wide segment of the American public. His celebrity reached its zenith in 2004 when he became the star and producer of the NBC reality television show, The Apprentice. The show featured a group of contestants competing for a one-year, $250,000 job contract to manage one of his companies. Each week, Trump would preside over a boardroom meeting, evaluating the contestants' performance on business-related tasks, before dismissing one with his now iconic catchphrase, "You're fired." The show was a ratings phenomenon, running for 14 seasons and transforming Trump from a New York real estate mogul into a household name across the entire country, and indeed, the world. It offered a weekly primetime showcase of his carefully crafted persona. The Apprentice was instrumental in shaping the public perception that would later fuel his political career. The boardroom set was a fictionalized theater of corporate power, where Trump was portrayed as a decisive, no-nonsense leader who could instantly identify success and failure. Millions of viewers came to see him not as a complex businessman with a history of bankruptcies and lawsuits, but as the ultimate executive, a tough but fair judge of character and competence. This carefully curated image, broadcast into living rooms week after week for over a decade, provided him with an unparalleled level of name recognition and a built-in base of admirers who saw him as the epitome of American success. Donald Trump's personal life has been as public and scrutinized as his business and political careers, marked by 3 marriages that produced 5 children and, as of 2025, 10 grandchildren. His first marriage was to Ivana Zelníková, a Czech-American model and businesswoman, in 1977. Their partnership was a high-profile fixture of New York society in the 1980s, with Ivana playing a significant role in the Trump Organization, managing properties like the Plaza Hotel. Together they had 3 children who would later become central figures in both his business empire and his political life. Donald Jr., born 1977, Ivanka, born 1981, and Eric, born 1984. The couple's glamorous life came to a tumultuous end with a highly publicized divorce in 1992, fueled by Trump's affair with actress Marla Maples. Following his divorce from Ivana, Trump married Marla Maples in 1993. Their relationship had been a tabloid sensation, and their marriage continued to attract media attention. That same year they had one daughter, Tiffany Trump, born 1993. This marriage was shorter-lived, and the couple separated in 1997, officially divorcing in 1999. Tiffany was primarily raised by her mother in California, somewhat apart from her half-siblings who were being groomed within the Trump Organization in New York. This distance meant she had a less public profile for many years compared to Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, who were increasingly visible alongside their father in his business and media ventures. In 2005, Trump married his third wife, Melania Naus, a Slovenian-American model. Their lavish wedding at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, was a major society event. In 2006, they had a son, Barron Trump, who would grow up in the public eye, particularly after his father's entry into politics. As First Lady, Melania Trump embarked on her Be Best initiative, focusing on children's well-being, though she often maintained a more private and reserved demeanor compared to her predecessors. The couple's relationship has been the subject of intense speculation and media coverage, especially throughout his presidency and subsequent political activities, yet they have consistently presented a united front at public events. The Trump family has grown into a modern American dynasty, deeply intertwined with his brand. His three eldest children became executive vice presidents in the Trump Organization, and were prominent figures in his political campaigns and presidency. Donald Jr. and Eric became fiery surrogates on the campaign trail, while Ivanka served as a senior advisor in his first administration. By 2025, the family had expanded significantly with the addition of 10 grandchildren, further solidifying the family's legacy. This tight-knit, multi-generational unit has been a key component of his public image, projecting a sense of legacy and continuity that resonates with many of his supporters, who see the family as a symbol of American success and tradition. After decades of flirting with the idea of a presidential run, including a brief exploration for the Reform Party nomination in 2000, Donald Trump made a decisive entry into politics on June 16, 2015. Riding down the escalator of Trump Tower, he announced his candidacy for the Republican nomination. His campaign, with its slogan, "Make America Great Again," was built on a populist, nationalist platform that defied traditional conservative orthodoxy. He promised to build a wall on the southern border, renegotiate international trade deals, and take on the political establishment in Washington. His rallies became media spectacles, where his unfiltered, often inflammatory rhetoric resonated with a segment of the electorate that felt ignored by mainstream politicians. Against all odds, Trump systematically defeated a crowded field of 16 experienced Republican rivals, including governors and senators. He tapped into a deep well of voter anger and frustration, leveraging his celebrity and media savvy to dominate news cycles. On November 8, 2016, in one of the most stunning political upsets in American history, he defeated the Democratic nominee, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Despite losing the popular vote, Trump secured a decisive victory in the Electoral College by winning key swing states in the Rust Belt, such as Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which had been Democratic strongholds for decades. His victory was a seismic event that sent shockwaves through the American political system. As the 45th President of the United States, Trump governed much as he had campaigned, with a disruptive and often chaotic style that broke with presidential norms. His administration's domestic policy was centered on several key promises. In 2017, he signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, a major overhaul of the U.S. tax code that significantly lowered corporate and individual income taxes. He pursued a hardline immigration agenda, which included the controversial travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries and the aggressive enforcement of border policies. A central legacy of his term was the appointment of 3 conservative justices to the Supreme Court: Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, shifting the court's ideological balance for a generation. On the world stage, President Trump pursued an America First foreign policy that challenged long-standing international alliances and agreements. He withdrew the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal, the Paris Agreement on climate change, and the Iran nuclear deal. He engaged in a protracted trade war with China, imposing tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods in an effort to address what he called unfair trade practices. He also engaged in unprecedented direct diplomacy, holding historic summits with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. His presidency was a period of constant controversy and upheaval, praised by his supporters for shaking up the status quo, and condemned by his critics for undermining democratic institutions and international relationships. Donald Trump's presidency was relentlessly shadowed by investigations and legal battles, culminating in two historic impeachments by the House of Representatives. The first impeachment process began in late 2019. It centered on a phone call in which Trump asked Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden, and his son, Hunter Biden, while his administration was withholding congressionally approved military aid to Ukraine. The House charged him with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. In February 2020, following a trial in the Republican-controlled Senate, he was acquitted on both articles. Trump and his allies dismissed the proceedings as a politically motivated witch hunt designed to overturn the 2016 election results. The second impeachment came in the final days of his term, making him the only president in United States history to be impeached twice. The single article of impeachment charged him with incitement of insurrection for his role in encouraging the crowd of his supporters that marched on the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, in an attempt to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election victory. The House voted to impeach him just 1 week after the riot. The subsequent Senate trial took place after he had already left office. While 7 Republican senators joined all 50 Democrats in voting to convict, the 57-43 vote fell short of the 2/3 majority required, and Trump was once again acquitted, though the event left a deep scar on the nation's political landscape. After leaving the White House, Trump's legal troubles intensified, leading to a series of unprecedented criminal indictments against a former president. He faced federal charges related to his handling of classified documents after his presidency and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He also faced state charges in Georgia for his attempts to pressure election officials. However, it was a case in New York that led to the first ever criminal conviction of a former United States president. In May 2024, a Manhattan jury found Trump guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to conceal a hush money payment made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. This historic conviction occurred in the midst of his 2024 presidential campaign, creating a situation without precedent in American politics. Rather than derailing his ambitions, Trump and his campaign skillfully framed the verdict as further proof of a weaponized justice system being used by his political opponents to interfere in the election. He portrayed himself as a political martyr, a narrative that galvanized his base and fueled a surge in fundraising and support. The legal battles, which would have ended the career of any traditional politician, were instead woven into the fabric of his comeback story, reinforcing his image as an outsider fighting against a corrupt establishment on behalf of his followers. Donald Trump's 2024 campaign for the presidency was a masterclass in political resilience and narrative control. He entered the Republican primary race as the dominant frontrunner, easily dispatching rivals like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. His campaign strategy was audacious. He leveraged his multiple criminal indictments and his historic conviction in New York as central pillars of his appeal. He argued that the legal challenges were not a sign of personal wrongdoing but were instead a coordinated attack by the deep state and the Biden administration to keep him from power. This message resonated deeply with his base, who saw him as their champion fighting against a corrupt system. The campaign was punctuated by a harrowing event on July 13, 2024. During a rally near Butler, Pennsylvania, an assassin fired on Trump from a nearby rooftop. The bullet grazed Trump's right ear, leaving him bloodied but alive, while a supporter in the crowd was tragically killed. The assassination attempt became a pivotal moment in the election. The image of a defiant Trump, fist raised in the air with blood streaming from his ear, became an iconic symbol of his perceived invincibility. His campaign framed his survival as a sign of divine providence and a testament to his strength, further solidifying his connection with his supporters. At the Republican National Convention, many delegates wore ear bandages in a show of solidarity. Meanwhile, the campaign of incumbent President Joe Biden faced significant challenges. Concerns about his age and fitness for office persisted, and the Democratic campaign struggled to craft a message that could effectively counter Trump's populist appeal. Trump dominated media headlines, turning every court appearance into a campaign event and every legal setback into a fundraising opportunity. He successfully portrayed the election as a choice not between two candidates but between the will of the people and the entrenched power of the political establishment. His message of economic revival, border security, and an America First foreign policy found fertile ground among voters weary of inflation and global instability. On November 5, 2024, Donald Trump once again defied political expectations, defeating Joe Biden to win the presidency. He became only the second president in United States history, after Grover Cleveland, to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. His victory demonstrated the enduring power of his political movement and his unique ability to connect with a large swath of the American electorate that felt left behind. On January 20, 2025, he was inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States, completing a political comeback that was unparalleled in modern American history. He returned to the Oval Office not just as a former president, but as a figure who had survived political, legal, and even physical attacks, seemingly more powerful than ever. Upon returning to the White House in January 2025, President Trump began his second term with a sense of urgency and a clear mandate from his supporters to enact sweeping changes. His administration immediately focused on a robust domestic and foreign policy agenda aimed at fulfilling his campaign promises. On the international front, he moved quickly to reassert his America First doctrine. In May 2025, he embarked on a high-stakes trip to the Middle East, visiting Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar to shore up alliances and maintain pressure on Iran, while simultaneously opening backdoor channels for diplomacy. He also adopted a firm stance on the war in Ukraine, halting new United States funding and pushing for a negotiated settlement, reflecting his long-held skepticism of foreign entanglements. Domestically, the Trump administration prioritized a broad legislative package. In June 2025, he signed what was dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill, an omnibus piece of legislation that combined several of his key policy goals. The bill included significant tax reforms aimed at stimulating economic growth, new funding for the military, and a raft of stricter immigration enforcement measures designed to secure the southern border. This legislative victory, achieved early in his term, was presented as proof of his ability to deliver on his promises and cut through the gridlock that had plagued Washington. It signaled a clear departure from the policies of the previous administration and a return to the core tenets of his political platform. The second Trump term also confronted the rapidly evolving challenges of technology and the digital economy. The administration took a proactive approach to the burgeoning world of cryptocurrency, introducing a new federal compliance system designed to provide regulatory clarity while fostering innovation within the United States. On the issue of social media, Trump postponed a potential ban on the popular app TikTok until September 2025, pending further review, a move that reflected the complex interplay of national security concerns and free speech principles. His administration also began to formulate a national strategy for artificial intelligence, aiming to ensure American leadership in a field with profound economic and security implications. A notable feature of his early second term was a public and escalating feud with billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk. Despite Musk having been a major financial donor to the 2024 campaign and having endorsed Trump, the two powerful figures clashed over policies related to cryptocurrency and the regulation of Musk's social media platform, X, formerly known as Twitter. The disagreement became highly public, with Trump terminating several planned collaborative projects between the government and Musk's companies. This feud highlighted the president's transactional approach to relationships and his willingness to publicly confront even his most powerful allies when their interests diverged from his own agenda. As he presides over the nation in 2025, Donald J. Trump remains one of the most consequential and polarizing figures in American history. His journey from a real estate mogul in Queens to the 47th President of the United States is a story of relentless ambition, brand mastery, and a unique ability to channel the zeitgeist of a nation. To his millions of devoted supporters, he is a transformative leader, a patriot who fearlessly challenges a corrupt political establishment, speaks uncomfortable truths, and fights tirelessly for the common person. They see his business acumen, his populist policies, and his survival of endless attacks as proof of his strength and dedication to make America great again. For his critics, Trump represents a grave threat to democratic norms, institutions, and the rule of law. They view his presidency as a period of chaos and division, marked by an erosion of trust in the media, the judiciary, and the electoral process itself. They point to his controversial rhetoric, his 2 impeachments, his criminal conviction, and his challenges to the peaceful transfer of power as evidence of an authoritarian impulse that undermines the very foundations of the American Republic. This deep chasm in perception ensures that his legacy will be fiercely debated for generations to come, with little common ground between those who admire him and those who decry him. In his second term, Trump continues to shape the nation's cultural and political landscape. His public appearances, from attending the Club World Cup final in Florida, to planning a second state visit to the United Kingdom, are carefully managed events designed to project strength on the world stage. His ambitious plans for the nation's 250th anniversary in 2026, featuring grand military parades, state fairs, and patriot games, reflect his vision of a revitalized American nationalism. These initiatives are designed to celebrate the country's history through his particular lens, emphasizing military might and populist spectacle, further cementing his brand into the national identity. Ultimately, the story of Donald Trump is the story of modern America itself, a nation grappling with profound economic changes, cultural shifts, and political polarization. He did not create these divisions, but he recognized and amplified them with unparalleled skill, building a political movement that has fundamentally reshaped the Republican Party and the country as a whole. Whether he is viewed as a savior or a demagogue, his impact is undeniable. As of today, July 14, 2025, he continues to command the world's attention, a dominant and disruptive force, whose actions today are actively writing the next chapter of American and world history.
Ready for a history adventure? Join our community. Subscribe to World History, smash that like, share with friends, and drop your thoughts below. Let's make history together. See you in the comments.